So, what happens when a world that's built on just absolute control and, this terrifying silence finally cracks? Today, we're going to dive into Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's incredible debut novel, Purple Hibiscus. It's a powerful story, and we see it all through the eyes of its young protagonist, Kambili, whose entire life is just shattered by one single stunning act of defiance.
And it all starts right here. This is the very first line of the novel. And believe me, it is the spark that just ignites everything. A single decision made on Palm Sunday becomes that first tiny crack in this family's fragile, incredibly oppressive world. It's a refusal that will change the lives of everyone in the Adichie family, forever. So let's talk about how things fall apart. For the Adichie family, Palm Sunday, well, it's not exactly a day of celebration. It's the day their perfect, polished facade, everything they show to the outside world, just begins to crumble. And it's all because of one single decision made by Kambili's brother, Jaja. So when Jaja refuses communion, you can just imagine the scene. The whole family is just stunned into silence. But that silence, it doesn't last long. It is shattered by their father, Papa. And in this fit of just uncontrollable rage, he picks up his heavy, leather-bound missal, the book of church readings, and just hurls it across the dining room, aimed right at Jaja. The book actually misses Jaja, but its impact is, well, it's profound. It crashes right into a glass shelf, shattering Mama's entire collection of these delicate ceramic ballet dancers. And you have to understand, this is not just an accident. It is such a powerful symbol. It's their family's perfect image breaking apart, and even more tragically, it's a direct reflection of Mama's own broken spirit. And Kambili's response to this, wow, it tells you everything you need to know about the world she lives in. She literally cannot bring herself to blame her father, so instead, she speaks around the violent truth of what just happened. It's a habit, one that's born from years and years of navigating his explosive temper. This is a house where silence equals survival. Okay, so let's get into it. The house on Adichie Street. Who is this man, Eugene Adichie, this papa whose rage can literally shatter a room? To really understand him, you have to look at the two starkly different lives he leads, because publicly, he's seen as a saint, but privately, he's a tyrant. Look at this. On one hand, Papa is a total hero to the public. He's this wealthy activist, praised by the church, praised by the community. He uses his newspaper, The Standard, to fight a corrupt military government. He's a champion for freedom. But then, you go behind the high walls of his compound, and it's a completely different story. He is an absolute tyrant. He enforces this fanatical, really punishing brand of Catholicism, beating his wife and children for the tiniest, most insignificant sins. And this brings us right back to those figurines. They're so much more than just decorations. For Mama, they represent her quiet suffering, her fragile hope. Kambili talks about how her mother would polish each delicate dancer obsessively, especially, and this is key, right after Papa had beaten her. It's her silent ritual, her way of trying to piece things back together, to hold on to some kind of order and beauty in a life just filled with so much violence. So, what's life like in this house? Well, it's dictated by these incredibly rigid, meticulously drawn schedules. Every single minute is accounted for. Study, prayer, even family time. Perfection is the only standard that's accepted. Coming in second place at school, that's not an achievement. Oh no, that's a failure, and one that deserves severe punishment. In this house, Kambili and Jaja have learned a very simple equation. Silence is obedience, and obedience, that's safety. But then, everything is about to change. A visit to their Auntie Ifeoma's home in the university town of Nsukka opens a door for Kambili and Jaja. It introduces them to an entirely different way of living, a world they honestly never even knew was possible. And this simple line from Jaja, it just captures the absolute essence of their discovery. See, in their garden back home, all the hibiscus flowers are this startling uniform red. That's all they've ever known. But in Sukha, he sees a purple one for the very first time. It's something new, something rare, and completely outside of the controlled, predictable world he's always lived in. And that's it, right there. That purple hibiscus becomes the novel's central metaphor. It's an experimental flower, a hybrid, something that defies expectations, and it perfectly represents this new world of freedom and defiance that's suddenly opening up to Kambili and Jaja. It is, quite literally, freedom in bloom. I mean, the contrast between these two worlds is just staggering. Papa's house, it's silent, sterile, and full of fear. Auntie Efeama's house, it's loud, loving, and just overflowing with debate. Papa's faith is rigid and punishing. Auntie's is joyful and questioning. For the very first time in their lives, Kambili and Jaja are discovering that a home can be a place of freedom and expression, not just obedience and control.
So, what happens when you get a taste of freedom like that? Well, returning to Papa's oppressive control it's just unbearable. The kids are not the same people who left. And this change, this newfound awareness, it leads to an inevitable and really tragic escalation. Papa, the god of their household, is about to be broken. And the breakdown is so swift and so brutal. First, Papa beats Mama so badly that she suffers another miscarriage. Then, when Kambili comes in second place at school, her punishment is having boiling water poured on her feet. Then, tragedy strikes when their beloved grandfather, Papa Nuku, dies. And then, just shortly after all of that, in a completely shocking turn, Papa himself is found dead at his factory desk. At first, everyone thinks it was a heart attack. But then, an autopsy reveals a shocking truth. Papa, this pillar of the community, was poisoned. Turns out, his daily cup of tea had been methodically laced with poison over a period of time. So what happens next? In the aftermath, a completely broken and emotionally distant Mama confesses to the murder. After a lifetime of just absorbing his violence, the beatings, the miscarriages, the constant breaking of her spirit, she claims she did it. It seems like her final, desperate act, just taking the blame for everything. But wait. Then comes the final, just stunning twist. As Mama is about to be arrested, Jaja steps forward, and he confesses. He says, "I used rat poison." This is his ultimate act of defiance, not against his father this time, but for his mother. It's his desperate attempt to protect her from the consequences of finally ending her own torment. So, where do you even go from a tragedy like that? Well, the story jumps forward, and we see the family living in a totally new reality. The old oppressive silence is gone. It's been replaced by something else. A different kind of quiet, one that's shaped by trauma, for sure, but also, finally, by freedom. 3 years. That's how much time has passed. For 3 long years, Jaja has been in prison, taking the fall for his father's murder. And in that time, the family has had to start navigating a world without its tyrant. While at the same time, Auntie Ifeoma's family has had to move to America to escape Nigeria's political instability. And as you can imagine, everyone has been completely transformed by the trauma. Jaja, well, he's hardened by prison, but the good news is his release is just around the corner. Mama is still very fragile, but she's finally free from fear. And Kambili, the quiet girl who we started this story with, she's found her voice. She can speak, she can laugh, and she can actually dream of a future that she gets to create for herself. The whole novel closes on this one simple, beautiful, hopeful line from Kambili. And the rain she's talking about, it symbolizes cleansing, rebirth. This family has survived an absolutely destructive storm. And now, for the very first time, there's a real promise of new growth and a much better future. And all of that leaves us with this one big question. Purple Hibiscus is, yes, it's a story about the devastating intersection of religious fanaticism, domestic violence, and political turmoil. But really, at its heart, it's this profound exploration of what it takes to break free. What does it take to finally speak up and to find your own voice after being silenced for your entire life?